The cabin lights were dimmed to a soft amber glow as Flight 782 cruised smoothly at 35,000 feet. The steady hum of the engines blended with the quiet rhythms of a long-haul flight. Pages turning, headphones leaking faint music, the occasional cough or whispered conversation. To most passengers, it was just another forgettable journey between two cities. In seat 14A sat Ayla Carter. She wore simple clothes, dark jeans, worn sneakers, a grey hoodie pulled slightly forward. Her carry-on was tucked neatly under the seat, untouched since takeoff. Her eyes were closed, but she wasn't asleep, not really. She had learned long ago how to rest without fully letting go, how to remain alert even while appearing calm. Old habits never truly faded. Across the aisle, a businessman typed furiously on his laptop. 2 rows back, a child pressed his face against the window, tracing imaginary lines through the clouds. A flight attendant pushed a cart quietly, careful not to disturb the sleeping passengers. Nothing felt wrong. Until it did. The first sign was subtle, a faint shudder that ran through the fuselage, like a muscle twitch in something very large. Most people didn't notice. Ayla did. Her eyes opened instantly. She felt it again, a slight dip, not turbulence, something else. Her fingers tightened around the armrest. Years ago, she had learned to listen to aircraft the way others listened to voices. Every vibration told a story, every sound meant something, and this sound was off. Then came the second jolt, sharper this time. The overhead bins rattled. A few passengers looked up, annoyed more than afraid. Somewhere glass clinked. The seatbelt sign chimed on, its ding unusually loud in the quiet cabin. Ayla's gaze lifted toward the cockpit door. She waited for the captain's calm, rehearsed voice. It never came. Instead, the aircraft lurched again, this time enough to draw gasps. The nose dipped slightly, then corrected too late, too rough. Ayla's heartbeat slowed, not quickened. Okay, she thought, now we're in it. Suddenly, oxygen masks burst free from the ceiling with a sharp snap, dangling like pale flowers on yellow strings. A collective scream rose from the cabin as fear spread faster than logic. What's happening? Are we crashing? Mom! Ayla remained seated, her movements deliberate. She reached up, pulled a mask over her face, then watched. Not the passengers, but the plane. The way it moved. The way it struggled. Something was very wrong in the cockpit. Minutes passed. No announcement. No instructions. That was when fear truly set in. A flight attendant hurried down the aisle, her training fighting visible panic. Her eyes darted from face to face, searching. Is there, her voice cracked, is there any pilot on board? The question echoed like a gunshot. Silence followed. People looked at each other. Some shook their heads, others stared at the floor. A man stood halfway, then sat back down, defeated. Ayla exhaled. She stood up. I can help, she said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, but it cut through the chaos. Heads turned, a few people frowned, someone laughed nervously. You? A man muttered. This isn't a joke. The flight attendant looked at Ayla, hope and doubt colliding in her eyes. Ma'am, are you trained? Ayla nodded once. I flew fighter jets for the U.S. Air Force, she said. F-18s, combat and carrier qualified. The words landed heavy. The attendant blinked. Your military? Was, Ayla corrected, but the training doesn't go away. Another violent shudder ripped through the cabin, throwing people against their belts. A child screamed. Somewhere luggage fell. That settled it. Come with me, the attendant said. As they hurried toward the cockpit, whispers followed Ayla like a wave. Did she say fighter jets? She doesn't even look like a pilot. Is this real? The cockpit door loomed ahead, reinforced, solid, closed. The attendant knocked hard, then entered the code with shaking fingers. The door slid open. Ayla froze. Inside, chaos ruled. Warning alarms screamed from every direction. Red and amber lights flashed across the instrument. Empty panels. The captain lay slumped in his seat, oxygen mask dangling uselessly at his side. The co-pilot was upright but barely conscious, hands trembling as he tried and failed to steady the controls. The aircraft banked slightly left. Too much. Bitty. Ayla moved without thinking. She slid into the empty jump seat, scanning instruments at lightning speed. Airspeed unstable, altitude drifting, one engine running hot. This is bad, she thought, but it's not over. Ma'am, the co-pilot whispered weakly. You can't. I've got it, Ayla said. Her voice didn't waver. She strapped in, adjusted her seat and placed her hands on the controls. The moment her fingers made contact, something inside her clicked into place. The cabin disappeared. The fear vanished. There was only the aircraft, only the mission, only survival. She straightened the pitch, gently correcting the bank. The alarm screamed louder, then steadied as the plane responded. Outside, thousands of passengers held their breath, unaware that in that exact moment, a woman no one noticed during boarding had become the only thing standing between them and the sky. Ayla's hands rested lightly on the controls, but every muscle in her body was engaged. The cockpit was alive with noise, alarms chiming in uneven rhythms, warning lights pulsing red and amber, the strained roar of an engine being pushed beyond its comfort. To an untrained eye, it looked like disaster. To Ayla, it was information. She breathed in slowly. Fly the plane, don't fight it. The attendant's breathing grew shallow. That was the first lesson drilled into her during fighter training. Panic destroyed pilots faster than enemy fire ever could. The co-pilot groaned beside her, his head lolling forward before snapping back up. I lost him, he whispered, nodding weakly toward the captain. He collapsed. Then everything started. I know, Ayla said, already scanning the engine readouts. You did what you could. Sit back and breathe. She toggled the intercom. Cabin crew, this is Ayla Carter in the cockpit. I have control of the aircraft. We are handling an emergency, but the plane is stable. Please keep passengers seated and calm. Her voice carried authority, not borrowed, not forced. It was earned. In the cabin, the announcement cut through the terror like a blade. People clutched armrests, but the panic softened. A voice with certainty was a powerful thing. Ayla switched frequencies. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is civilian flight 782. Pilot incapacitated. Co-pilot compromised. I am a former military pilot and have assumed control. There was a pause. Then air traffic control answered, careful but urgent. Flight 782, confirm you are not listed as crew. Confirmed, Ayla replied, but I am current on multi-engine aircraft handling, request vectors and priority landing. Another pause, shorter this time. Flight 782, we are clearing airspace. Turn heading 180, descend to 24,000. Emergency services are standing by. Ayla acknowledged and began the descent, easing the throttles back. The plane resisted, shuddering as if protesting the command. She adjusted the trim, compensating for asymmetric thrust. That's when it happened. A sharp bang echoed through the cockpit. The right engine warning flared bright red. Engine failure. The aircraft yawed violently. Ayla countered instantly, muscle memory snapping into place. Her foot slammed the rudder, her hands correcting the roll before it could turn catastrophic. In the cabin, screams erupted as the plane dipped. Easy, easy, Ayla murmured, as if speaking to a living creature. She shut down the failed engine procedures with calm precision, her mind running through checklists she hadn't consciously reviewed in years. Some things never needed refreshing. They lived deeper than memory. The co-pilot stared at her, eyes wide despite his weakness. How are you this calm? You've done harder things than this. Ayla's jaw tightened. Minutes blurred together as she guided the crippled aircraft lower. Weather reports crackled through the radio, crosswinds, moderate turbulence near the runway. But visibility was good. Good enough. In the cabin, a flight attendant gripped a seatback as the plane descended. Passengers prayed aloud, others cried quietly. Some held hands with strangers. A child asked, "Are we going to die?" His mother didn't answer. Up front, Ayla adjusted her approach angle, calculating glide slope with instinct more than math. Fighter jets landed on moving carriers with less room than this. She reminded herself of that fact, not as bravado, but as grounding truth. As the runway lights appeared in the distance, air traffic control spoke again. Flight 782, you are cleared to land. Wind is pushing left. Emergency crews are in position. Crosswind, single engine, civilian aircraft heavier than anything she'd flown in combat. She smiled faintly. Understood, she replied, taking her in. The plane buffeted as it broke through the last layer of clouds. The ground rushed up faster than passengers realized. Ayla adjusted, corrected, compensated, hands steady, mind sharp. Come on, she whispered, stay with me. The wheels hit the runway hard. The impact rattled bones and teeth, but the plane stayed straight. Ayla deployed spoilers and reverse thrust, fighting the pull of the dead engine as the aircraft screamed down the asphalt. For a terrifying second, it felt like they might veer off. Then control. The aircraft slowed. Slower! Finally, it stopped. Silence followed. Then, as if the world remembered how to breathe again, the cabin exploded with sound. Cheers, sobs, laughter, prayers of gratitude. People hugged. Strangers collapsed into each other, overwhelmed by survival. Ayla slumped back in her seat, exhaustion crashing over her now that the danger had passed. Her hands trembled for the first time. Emergency crews surrounded the plane. Medics rushed into the cockpit, tending to the captain and co-pilot. As Ayla stood to leave, a firefighter stopped her. "Ma'am, you saved everyone on this plane." She shook her head slightly. "I just did my job." "But you weren't even supposed to be here," he said in disbelief. Ayla glanced back at the aircraft, at the machine that had remembered her touch, her training, her past. "Neither was I," she replied softly. As she walked down the aisle, passengers stood applauding through tears. Someone called her a hero. Someone else thanked her over and over. Ayla accepted the gratitude with a quiet nod, then stepped off the plane and into the open air. She looked up at the sky one last time. It had tested her.